Hey drummers, it's Mike Michalko here, and in this first lesson I want to show you how to develop a basic swing pattern. Okay, so it's very important that we understand what is happening on the ride cymbal in correlation with the hi-hat, okay, because we're just going to talk about that for now, just these two cymbals. That's why it's very important to have a really nice sounding ride cymbal for jazz and a decent set of hats for jazz. So jazz is triplet based, okay, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. It's funny how when I do that, when I count like that, my finger automatically wants to swing back and forth like a swing set. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. That's a good thing to sort of get into your head to really start developing that swing feel, because when I think the word swing, I think triplet. So what we're going to do with that triplet feel is we're going to take the pattern of 1, okay, so we're just going to play 1 and then 2. So we're going to go 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3. Okay, so I'm going to just start right there for now, okay? So 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3. So you notice that I had just played 2 quarter notes followed by the let 3. It was 1, 2, let 3. Now this is where the cycle kind of begins, because as you carry this on, the pattern doesn't change, it just stays in the exact same swing pattern. So what happens if you got 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2, let 3, 4, let 1. Okay, watch this. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So it's very important to start developing that, because that is going to happen 90% of the time, if not 100% of the time, when you start playing swing, okay? So why don't we demonstrate this at 2 different tempos. We'll do it at 80 beats per minute and at 100. Here we go. So the next thing that you need to start working on is the hi-hat playing 2 and 4 with the left foot, okay? Very important, because this ends up being your backbeat or sort of your stabilizer of time, okay? And I heard that from a bass player once. He says, man, I love that you play the hi-hat consistently on 2 and 4 throughout the songs, because it's kind of like stabilizing the time. So I like to call it the stabilizer of time. That's my little thing that I use from an old bass player friend. Anyway, so we're going to continue on with our jazz ride pattern, but now the left foot, and you want to make it quite crisp. So sometimes you'll notice when I'm playing, I have heel up, because I really want to step down to really make that 2 and 4 very prominent within the groove, right? So I'm going to make sure that you can hear that. If you're sort of stepping on it kind of loose, it might get lost in the time. The other thing about stepping heel up is people can visually see it. So they can sort of see the time. It's like watching somebody tap their foot if you get lost in the mix with playing with a band. So I'll start with the ride pattern, and then I'm going to add the hi-hat on 2 and 4, okay? 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So once you get that, what I did is when I first started to learn how to play this pattern, you know, I understood that jazz was various tempos with the same exact kind of idea. So I would either set the metronome at various tempos, or I would just try to speed it up to see if I could hang on, okay? So you guys can try this. You don't have to if you don't want to, but maybe try doing this just for fun. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Because I found by practicing that, I was able to just incorporate that and start to play along to some of my favorite artists. You know, it was funny, I'd put on a Buddy Rich CD and there was no way I could play that stuff, but then I would listen to maybe Miles Davis, or I would listen to Thelonious Monk or Dave Brubeck, and the drummers and the songs were a little slower than some of the crazy Buddy Rich stuff. So at least I was able to sort of play time with that, and it was more about developing that feel than really becoming a great jazz drummer at that time. I just wanted to understand how the feel worked, and it felt like, okay, this is working. I'm not doing anything with my bass drum or my snare yet, but at least this had to become autopilot, because one thing with jazz is that ride cymbal and that hi-hat have to stay consistent if you can. You know, that's the thing is, you know, you have to, I guess, when you're learning, you have to keep it consistent. If you're in the school band or in a university band, the teacher's going to get on you if you're changing that. I mean, not a big deal, because you might listen to some drummers down the road where they are changing it up, and this will be later. You guys can discover this in other courses or in my jazz drumming system or whatever, but when I started listening to more jazz, I was hearing drummers do this kind of a thing, but don't worry about it too much, but just to give you a heads up, this can happen as well. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I really started to understand that, wow, they can now take what they've already developed and start building melody with the ride cymbal too, or changing it up a little bit, just like we can in a rock beat. We can change it up to make it more interesting. But for now, stick with the basic jazz pattern when you're learning. Very crucial to have that. And don't start venturing out too much until you have that comfortable, and you can do what we're going to do in the rest of the lessons here. So now that you have an understanding of this basic jazz feel, let's practice this at 80 and 100 beats per minute. So I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson. I know I had a lot of fun showing you that. So the main thing is practice this to the point where it just becomes a part of you. You know, get it in here. That's the main thing about jazz. You have to have that feel really understood. Practice at 80 and 100, and then take it to any tempo you want. You know, speeding it up is always great, but also make sure you practice it slower as well. I've had students come in who say, you know, I got to practice some jazz or play jazz in the school band at 60 beats per minute or 65. You know, and you really have to think about that quarter note and how to place those notes in the proper spot to make it work. Otherwise, it can tend to straighten out or almost turn into a 16th note feel if you're not careful. So really get that under your belt. Practice it before we start adding all the other stuff, which we'll do in the next lesson, which is going to be developing basic jazz beats. So I'll see you there.